Welcome, everybody, to the Patterson Report podcast. I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. And bit of a busy week Eagles-wise. We went from last week, very little to no Eagles news. We talked Phillies. We talked Sixers. This week, for one, I am severely under the weather. It's going to be a bit of a shorter week. And the short week, short time frame kind of fit the Eagles' moves for the week. So this is going to be an expedited but Eagles focused pod. The week kicked off with, probably I would say the biggest surprise of the Eagles offseason. Looking back on it, it's not an unusual deal for Howie. It's just not something any of us had on the radar yet. But obviously, Barkley gets locked up with a 2-year extension, over $50 million. Beyond deserved, don't get me wrong. But it's very rare you see a running back get monstrous money in year one of their current deal. So when you read into this, what was your initial reaction, secondary reaction? Where'd you land on the Barkley deal?
Look, I thought it was going to clear up some cap, but it was really hard with the base min they were already paying Saquon. So it doesn't really free up any cap space for the Eagles. I know there's been reports, both sides of that. So we don't know officially what yet happened, but I love it. Saquon is the man here in Philadelphia. And, people are like, it's a lot of money for running back. Obviously, Saquon had the best season. I don't think people are, accounting for what the perception of this is. Saquon Barkley had a massive year, deserved the money, and the team didn't have to give it to him. He was already under contract. He just signed one the previous offseason. He was definitely underpaid looking back now. And they opted to give him a raise. That looks absolutely amazing for a player standpoint because you're going to get paid, you're going to get rewarded if you do well. It's absolutely incredible what Howie Roseman does. I was looking up, I believe it was Warren Sharp on Twitter. They were talking about the Bengals because the Bengals, obviously, Trey Hendrickson requested it, or he was allowed to seek a trade today. The Eagles have paid, I believe, 8 players $40+ million with Jalen Hurts locked up to a big contract. Joe Burrow and the Bengals only one with Logan Wilson. So
Jamar Chase is going to join those ranks. You think, but
still, man.
It's the tale of two organizations. Like, it's why the Eagles win and why the Bengals are perennially. They've had some flashes where Burrow drug a young Bengal team almost all the way there, but
they should have won that Super Bowl.
They should have, but it's why they're not good for long. Like, the reason the Eagles are so good for so long is that they don't live and die on rookie deals. Like, when guys play well, they pay them. Cincinnati, it feels like they live and die on that initial deal, and if you don't get it done, you move on.
Yeah, we could sit here for a good hour and a half and talk about how much talent has walked out of Cincinnati. DJ Reader, Geno Stone,
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon looked great. T. Higgins is going to be next out the door. Trey Hendrickson is going to be not too far behind him.
Well, no, T got the tag.
He got the tag, but I think it might be reversed. But anyway, that's just a comparison of, how player perception is around the league, because how he treats these players great. And Lurie fronts the cash. He fronts it. So how he could, maneuver the cap however he needs to be. So it's absolutely great. You have to love the deal because Saquon's the best, and obviously we'll see where the money goes, but it's not going to be a cap increase. We know Howie Roseman too well. So I think it's a great deal for both sides. And it really, lets players know that, hey, if you play for the Eagles and you have a monster season, you're going to get paid. The Zach Bond deal reiterates that as well. He had a breakout year. We're going to talk about that more in detail, but he had one great year, and now he's one of the top paid linebackers in the league. Obviously, he deserves to be paid like such, and he probably would have on the open market. He probably would have reset the market with all the cap flying around because there's just so much at this point. And you see teams trading for veterans, so they probably don't like the free agent class all that much. But
I think those 2 points are tied together because I think there's no coincidence that, look, the Bond deal, I think, has been quietly done for a little while. I think his camp was given, some kind of assurances that he wasn't leaving Philadelphia. I think it's no small coincidence that the Barkley deal gets done first. Because you can't imagine a team walking into free agency with better PR than Howie and the Sixers and the Eagles are right now. I mean, you lock up a guy who was not expected to do anything kind of money. I mean, he was in year one of a deal. You give him a bag just to say we appreciate you. That goes a long, long way with his representation around the league. Then like you said, you come back around. A guy like Zach Vaughn had a sensational year at linebacker, but one good year, former special teams guy, 28-year-old backer. The Eagles could have been bullish about it and gone, you know what, we'll see, we'll lowball him, we'll see how little we can get for him. They paid him top 5 linebacker money because he was worth it. So when you're going into a free agency period where you're not necessarily loaded with cap space and you're going to need some guys to take like those wanna-be here deals. I mean, what a great way to set that up where you look like the team everybody wants to play for right now.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Milton Williams tweet earlier. Who knows what that actually means?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you, but I mean, the league year starts on Monday. We're going to see the flurry of deals at 4:00. Obviously, we'll see probably Josh Sweat and Milton Williams get deals done fast. Like I said, there's a lot of cap out there. They're top 10 guys in the market. You could argue Milton Williams is the top guy in the market.
Yeah.
So it's
Let me float a name your way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guy who sought greener pastures and relatively fell flat on his face. Is there room back in the fold for the one that got away? I'm guessing you saw that San Fran cut Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, I saw that. The medicals this year it was a rough year injury wise for Hargrave. I mean, I'd welcome anyone back at this point. Like,
hey, humble yourself, big fella. Come on back on a prove it deal. We'll do this again. Come on back.
Absolutely will. I mean, I think this free agency, it's not going to be splashy. We know this. Obviously, I don't think you're going to see anyone really come in.
As much.
I think the Eagles are mostly done because Howie's not going to want to avoid those comp picks like other teams do. You see, I can't think of an example off the top of my head. The Giants last year with Saquon, they signed someone who didn't even play for them that much. Canceled out a 4th round pick. Like, Howie's not going to do that. So
based on the money, I was reading something today where if Sweat and Milton Williams, excuse me, get the top of the market money that we're thinking they might get, that could turn out to be 2/3.
Yes. The only thing holding that up is Sam Darnold. I think if he finds his way, I think he's going back to Minnesota, if I'm being honest. That's the vibes I'm getting right now. Have a little ear out there, just, hearing what I hear. But I think he's going back. And if he goes back, I don't see anyone, challenging Josh Sweat and Milton Williams for top of the line money. Like I said, T. Higgins is off the board. If Sam Darnold goes off the board next, I don't think there's anyone that could really challenge them. And I think how you could see 2/3, which, Myles Garrett would be perfect for.
Yeah. Well, I'm all right on Myles Garrett. We'll cross that bridge in a second.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
Trey Smith was the other one that could have, heavily impacted that, but he got the franchise tag from the Chiefs, and then they traded Joe Thuney, which is
Chicago's quietly made some moves. This is an Eagles podcast, but I've liked Chicago's offseason thus far.
That's an Ashton Genty spot. Well, I'll rave about that after the draft.
Yeah, they've done a nice job, but the news everybody was kind of waiting on was Zach Vaughn. How he's typically never paid linebackers. He also typically never played running backs, but he's shown that similar to John Middleton with the Phillies, when people accuse him of being cheap, he will spend when the time is right, when the guys are worth it. And Zach Vaughn was both of those things. What did you think of the deal, of the structure, of him making top 5 linebacker money, but not resetting the market? I know it's a big deal. It's 3 years, $51 million. I mean, it's not nothing. It also did feel like he might have cut Howie a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I'm looking. Are the exact details of that contract out yet? Like the exact numbers?
Not the
Because
yearlies or anything like
because
that.
how he likes to schedule or not schedule, he likes to put these as kind of 1-in-1 or 2-year deals with the third
Mm.
year being the void. That's what Saquon was before he signed the extension. So I want to see the structure of it first, but I'm comfortable with anything. I mean, Zach Bond was so integral to that defense. I mean, top 5 money, sure. He would have reset the market if he went and hit the open market. So he definitely did cut the Eagles a little bit of a deal, which is right. They
He resurrected his career.
yeah, they increased his potential, resurrected his career, and now he's getting paid 17 million a year. So like worse things have happened. But
A guy like Zach, though, I think will continue to be worth it. Like, I think he's going to have as great of a year next year as he did this year, if not better. Like, I don't. This is his first big deal. It's his second good season. Like, I don't. I don't see him taking his foot off the gas. I think he and the Kobe Dean, assuming Dean's able to come back healthy, are going to be one of the best linebacking duos in football next year.
yep. So all that defense is intact now, except for Milton Williams and Josh Butt, like we said, who are likely going to leave. But
And Slay.
and Darius Slay, yes. I don't know, man. There's been Twitter beef today. That
I'm
is,
starting to think he's not coming back now.
I agree. I don't think he's coming back. So I think Isaiah Rodgers is the next pivot move. Bring him back.
I think
Then
he
you
could
could
step
draft.
in and be CB2.
Yeah, and there's Keely Ringo's there. He's see what we got with him. And of course, there's
What's it
always the
called?
draft.
I think Christian Parker's a hell of a coach. And, he said, they asked him, like, who was the guy who fans didn't get to see a lot of, but took a huge step this year? And he said, without hesitation, Keely Ringo. And, because his career was a little bit bizarre, he played a lot early, and then we stabilized the position and he's played less. I forgot he's only like, 23?
Yeah, he's very young. So
Yeah, so I mean, he's got tons of room to grow still. So I mean, our
absolutely.
secondary is still in a good spot. I just don't want them, and I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to move Coop outside.
No.
That's the only thing I'm worried about. Is
I
keep him
think
right where
they
he's at.
could. I think they could. I don't think they should. That's where I'm at. So
Yeah, let
I think
Isaiah Rodgers play the outside. Keep Coop right where he's
yeah,
at.
Ringo, Rodgers, you could draft someone if you really want to. I don't think you have
Not
to.
really.
Yeah, they drafted 2 last year. I mean, unless the board falls a certain way that you look and you say, "Hey, I can't pass up on this player,"
Yeah.
then you have to do it. But
No.
just one of those things where, yeah, I think Slay's gone, Bradbury's
What a
gone.
weird way
we
to
got
leave.
we got to give respect to Bradbury. Pro's pro, man.
I have no problem with James Bradbury. It's like, I think he took on, I mean, a great leadership role for a guy who wasn't in that phase of his career. Like, he's 31,
Mm-hmm.
coming off of an all-pro season 2 years ago. Like, he's not supposed to be a locker room guy. He's supposed to be a star. So shout out to him for pushing all that down and making sure that Q and and Coop were ready to go as rookies, because I'm sure Slay had a piece of that. I'm sure CJ was helpful and all, but I mean, all those guys kind of said that James Bradbury kind of became big brother in the locker room.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank him. He got his trophy that he should have got 2 years ago. So
And he earned it. I give him partial credit for how good Coop and Q turned out to be. I mean, especially, I mean, look, I'll always be thankful for what Slay did on the field. He was one of the better Eagle corners we've ever seen with our own 2 eyes. I'm yet to see the leadership that everybody talks about, and the reason he was wearing a C, especially with the way this exit's been going. But it felt like the adult in that cornerback room might have really been James Bradbury, at least for the rookies.
it's tough how it's all seems like it's going down, but it's one of those things where Q and Cooper are gonna have to step up next year along with Isaiah Rodgers if he's back, because you're not gonna have that veteran presence of a Darius Slay or James Bradbury. I mean, if Bradbury wants to be a locker room guy and win another ring, I mean, come back on the min, sure, but like as a depth guy, but I think he's looking to start somewhere, and I don't blame him for that. So
Yeah. Now your veterans in the room are going to be Reed and CJ GJ, which I still think is fine. I mean, CJ's an absolute nut, but he's the edge of the defense. I think Reed might be more the steadying presence. But those two together, they'll be able to keep that room intact.
Yeah, I'm okay with where the team's at. Obviously, it has to be this way. You can't keep everybody, of course. You could keep a lot of people if you're the Eagles. You can't keep a lot of people if you're the Bengals or another team like that. So we got to be thankful for what we have in Philadelphia, and we have it really, really good compared to other teams. And you're going to see this through the days now, where there's cut candidates. I mean, Evan Ingram, he's been a productive vet for the Jaguars. Cut today. Christian Kirk was traded interdivision to the Texans. So like, those are veteran guys there. Those are locker room guys. They've been there for a long time, 3-4 years at this point. So like, Howie keeping as many players as he does and, making splash from time to time is out of the ordinary because a lot of teams don't do that. And you're going to see teams try. And of course, Milton Williams and Josh Sweat are going to get a ton of money come Monday. You just got to thank them for their service. And the next guy up, I mean, Moro Jomo was incredible in the Super Bowl. Nolan Smith, absolute stud. You got to let these draft picks develop. Obviously, Philadelphia's had the luxury of not having to quite do that because they've been so good off the rip for most of them. I mean, Ojomo was a day 3 pick. You have Coop coming in. You have Quinyon Mitchell. You have these guys coming in right away. You have Jalen Carter making an impact on a rookie deal. That is kind of what allows Howie to be so great because he has a core unit that is costing little to none of the cap. And he can go out there and spend as much money as he wants on the offense. And if he drafts well on defense, it's how it balances itself out. And then, of course, you have the coach in Fangio who makes it, all stick together. So incredible work by the Eagles. That's all I got to say. Incredible work by the Eagles because, now they're in a position at 32 to either trade back if a team wants to move up for like a Jackson Dart to get that 5th-year option and acquire more capital. And, he's set up for comp picks next year in what looks like a stronger draft class as of right now. Obviously, it's really hard to project that, but he knows what he's doing. And we could expand on that a little more next week when we do our full rundown because they know the TV deal's coming. They're structuring their contracts for the TV deal. The Jalen Hurts contract is structured like that. Saquon, all these guys are structured for like that. So they're going to be able to kick that can down the road. And they're going to be able to keep going and not, face as harsh a penalty as the Saints did. They're $70 million over the cap right now, probably. I haven't looked, but like that's probably the number, right? It's probably close. Or it's just a testament to how good he is because, the Browns, if they cut Deshaun Watson, they're going to eat a lot of dead money, and that's why they're not going to do it. Obviously, there's a whole injury guarantee thing there, but how we saw Carson Wentz traded him. Took the dead money for 1 year and then made it to a Super Bowl, 2 years later?
Yeah.
Legend. Build the statue. That's all I got to say.
That's how we'll end this one. Build the Howie statue. We'll be back next week with the longer, fuller episode. I should be on the mend by then. But for this week on the Pass and Report, I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. Go Birds.